A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ English, your favorite UPSC platform. I welcome you to today's Hindu news analysis with me. So, this is for 20th September 2025, and we shall be taking up exam relevant, UPSC relevant articles from the Hindu newspaper, the New Delhi edition. And like each day, we shall also be looking at some prelims practice question. Alongside, from the editorial page, let's pick up the articles that you will use in your mains answer writing. Lots of important points, data, and input which you will use in your answers. For the remaining pages, we shall see them and look at the quick facts of these articles which you can use in the prelims exam. Because, yes, most of the other articles are very, very fact based. Very good morning, order. Okay, glad to see you on the platform today. Now, let's have a look at the topics for the day. Very good morning, Ramu. So, I have picked up 7 articles for the day, out of which the first two are the edit page articles, editorial articles. One, as we were expecting, is talking about the Saudi Arabia and Pakistan pact and how will it impact India's relation with Saudi Arabia. So, geopolitics, international relations, foreign policy, these are very interesting topics. At the same time, they are very dynamic topics. As we are seeing for the last 1 year, every day new developments keep happening. So, we have to be absolutely on pace and we have to be very, very prepared about what changes are going to come when. So every day is a new surprise. And yesterday we have got this surprise as Saudi and Pakistan are becoming very close defense allies now. So we will look at that. And then we will also look at India's health policies and how are they also trying to do climate mitigation. Beyond that, all the other news are factual, as I mentioned. So now let's proceed with the first article here. So the first article is page number 10. This is editorial. Very good morning, Praveen. Article says the Saudi-Pakistan pact is the dodgy insurance policy. By the title itself, we can understand that this article is saying that between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, relationship has been a very love-hate one. Right from 1951, both the countries have had defense ties. This is not about friendship, it is more about a symbiotic relationship. Both of them benefit from each other. While for Saudi, friendship with Pakistan means much better access to military training, weapons. Besides, Pakistan is a nuclear power that also supports Saudi Arabia's agenda. At the same time, for Pakistan, that has been a struggling economy throughout. Friendship with Pakistan could mean much better access to oil, much better access to gas reserves, investment portfolios, plus a very strong friend against India. So both the countries are deriving benefit from this relationship. No wonder yesterday they signed a deep pact that is known as Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement. But please understand, it is not about friendship. It is about both trying to benefit from one another. So let us analyze how will it work for India. Very good morning. Very good morning, Gopinath. Yes, absolutely. And both of them are Sunni dominated regions. So that's also one reason that they have a very deep cultural religious kind of unity that has been showcased today also. So now let's see what really happened. So this was basically 17th September, about 3 days before 17th September 2025, that Saudi Arabia and Pakistan came together and they said, let's revive our relationship. Let's sign a pact that is known as the SMDA Pact. SMDA. So SMDA therefore stands for Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement between the countries. Now, this was signed between Saudi's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Apart from that, Pakistan's army chief Asim Munir was also present that time. Now, for India, this itself is a big shock. If you remember, right from the time of Pahalgam terror attack until we completed Operation Sindoor, when the whole world was pointing towards India, that India is the one which has broken international law by attacking Pakistan. Even America was not supportive to us that time. Russia, China kept sitting on the fence. They didn't say much either. At that point of time, India was very, very critical of the fact that why is America negotiating and engaging with Army Chief of Pakistan, Mr. Asim Munir. India sees him as the torch bearer of terrorism and intrusion into India. After all, the Pahalgam, according to Pakistan, has been done by non-state actors, independent terror groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed. Pakistan says we have no relationship, we don't sponsor them. But in reality, India knows that these non-state actors, all these terror outfits, after all, they have their infrastructure in Pakistan. In fact, today in the Hindu, we have another article which shows how these terror organizations are now moving from Islamabad in Pakistan into other interior villages. Their infrastructure is only expanding, and Pakistan government and military is doing nothing but supporting them. So today, as Saudi Arabia is extending a hand of friendship to somebody like Asim Munir, who for India is a major threatening factor. India will definitely not perceive this as a small thing. For India, it is something to be very careful about now onwards. So, as the SMDA was signed on 17th September, as you are saying, order, both these being Sunni majority states, they have had a historical defense relationship also in the past from 1950 onwards. But today, both of them are trying to become one once again. What could be the reasons for this sudden close relationship? What has instigated Saudi and Pakistan to become so close once again? Well, clearly, one reason is America's instigation. Here, the only person to be blamed is, after all, President Trump. Because in the past, Saudi and Pakistan have had a relationship, but they have never trusted each other. Saudi has never trusted Pakistan. In fact, Saudi is quite an ally of America. Under American pressure, it was Saudi government which started the Abraham Accords. They were trying to talk to Israel about the two-state solution. They wanted to recognize Israel. Saudi and India also have had a good relationship. Then suddenly what happened today? That Saudi became so close to Pakistan. Well, it is all about today how the Gulf cooperation countries, the GCC countries of West Asia, have completely lost faith in America. And obviously they will lose faith. After all, recently, Israel has attacked Qatar. Qatar says it is an outright violation of my sovereignty. Now, how will anybody trust America? A week before this attack of Israel, America had promised Qatar that I will not let anything happen to you. Because Qatar also has America's largest military base in the West Asia. So therefore, Qatar always believed, because I have American military base, I am a good ally of America, so nobody can attack me, no matter what Israel does. Israel can attack Iran perhaps, but not me. But Israel denied that. Israel completely belied that trust, and Israel openly attacked Qatar. Doha was attacked. America was embarrassed. After this, how will any West Asian country ever trust America? And that was the trigger when suddenly countries like Saudi Arabia also lost trust in the fact that America can protect them. Now, for Saudi, it is a fear from both the sides. One, Israel. If Israel can attack Qatar, Israel will not stay behind when it comes to attacking any other country in West Asia tomorrow. Saudi has no guarantee of safety. Second, Saudi Arabia is also afraid of Iran, because Iran is the only country in the West Asia that has a major nuclear facility. If you remember recently how America had attacked underground Irani facility of Fordow, Natanz. But reports are saying and confirming that after the B-2 bombing of Iranian Fordow nuclear facility, Iran in no time has been able to rebuild its facility. So Iran's nuclear program is very advanced. And despite the inspections by International Atomic Energy Agency, there is still no clarity about how much more nuclear infrastructure Iran has already created. So Saudi is afraid of that. Yes, the power equations in West Asia are not stable right now. On top of it, Israel's agenda. Once again today, despite the warning from United Nations that a genocide is leading to famine, humanitarian crisis, so please stop the war. But Israel once again today has said that Palestine should prepare for my biggest ever attack. Israel is not going to stop anytime soon. So therefore now what is happening with GCC losing trust, Saudi Arabia having a fear of both Iran's nuclear power, Israel's ready to attack situation. Now there is a lot of instability. Yes, absolutely. Apart from that, in Yemen, you have the Houthi terrorism that's going on. The Houthis recently also were responsible for cutting the undersea cables, because of which internet stability was devastated in many countries, including Africa, India, West Asia. So you see, the West Asia is really burning right now. It is not a smooth situation to be in. And American protection is something nobody trusts now after the Qatar attack done by Israel. So today, what is happening? Saudi has seen Pakistan as a good defense partner. After all, Saudi wants nuclear protection, and who other than Pakistan can provide that protection? So today, let's quickly also analyze a brief history of Saudi-Pakistani relation. Let's say we talk about 1951. In 1951, both Saudi Arabia and Pakistan had signed a mutual defense partnership. Under this mutual defense partnership, both the countries agreed that Pakistani military will come and provide security in Saudi Arabia. Now, let's understand, both are Sunni countries. Saudi Arabia has some very prominent religious sides of the Muslim community. So, Pakistan was providing troops and military, it was acting as a defense, it was acting as a security force for Saudi Arabia. In 1979, until 1989, there was an excellent level of cooperation between Saudi and Pakistan. 20,000 plus Pakistani troops were stationed in Saudi Arabia to protect holy religious sites, to also act as a buffer security against Yemen and Iran. So Saudi was using Pakistan. But in 1990, problems started coming, because by now Pakistan's military understood that Saudi is treating Pakistan as a mercenary, as a subordinate military supply. They don't have an equal relationship. And since then, differences began to grow between the countries. Besides, Saudi Arabia was also not ready to hire any Shia, any Shia community members in the military and in the defense. That also angered Pakistan. The minorities in Pakistan were angry about it. So, therefore, what happened? The relations became sore between them slowly, and there was a mistrust that developed in the 1990s. Now, what happened? Pakistan therefore decided not to support Saudi Arabia when in the 1990 Saudi Arabia was facing a tremendous crisis because of Iraq and Kuwait situation. So during the Iraq and Kuwait crisis in 1990, Pakistan refused to provide more support, more defense, more military protection to Saudi Arabia. And since then, the relationship started becoming bad. Once again in 2015, Saudi Arabia asked Pakistan to provide military protection, support, and defense, but that time also during the Yemen war, when Saudi was experiencing security problem, Pakistan denied that kind of help. Pakistan did not agree to the request of Saudi Arabia. Since then, the relationships became bad. Absolutely, yes. Relationships became sour. From 1990 onwards, slowly and steadily, all Pakistani troops were withdrawn from Saudi Arabia. They were not there in Saudi soil anymore. So, which means the smooth relationship since 1950 now was becoming spoilt and sour day by day. At the same time, suddenly today, why does Saudi Arabia has a change of heart? Why the two are becoming so close today? Let's understand clearly, it is not about a close friendship, it is about the need of the hour. It is a situational friendship. Point number one. Today, there is a decline of trust in America. So, US credibility has fallen down in the entire West Asia. Why? Because Qatar, the largest US military base in West Asia, was attacked by Israel. America couldn't do anything. Israel consistently has been taking action against Iran, Yemen, Syria. America has not done anything but only supported Israel quietly. The Gulf security is under threat, and America's promise is not coming true. Saudi today is very concerned about Iran's nuclear capacity. Yes, Iran has a major nuclear power. Saudi doesn't know what is the level of that power, and yes, they are afraid. That's the reason they are running to Pakistan. If Iran's nuclear power is too much and Saudi has none, then Pakistan has some nuclear power. Saudi can find a great protection in a nuclear state like Pakistan against the domination of Iran. Third, Israel attacks on Iran. Repeated attack on Iran supported by America is also insulting Arab sentiments. Now, the Arab sentiments are becoming injured. Because of that, now Saudi is reconsidering whether I should recognize Israel. If you remember earlier, long back, America had convinced many Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, to sign the Abraham Accords. Under Abraham Accords, Saudi Arabia and other countries of the Gulf were ready to recognize Israel as a sovereign country. And they were ready to support Israel. But today, as nobody trusts America, nobody, Saudi Arabia is rethinking, should I even recognize Israel? Should I still abide by the Abraham Accords? They are not sure now. Their Arab sentiments are insulted because of the ongoing attacks on Iran, Qatar. So now they are thinking again. Similarly, Pakistan's nuclear status is the only attraction why Saudi is attracted to Pakistan. Pakistan's nuclear weapons, Pakistan's military, Pakistan's defense training. All these are attractive factors in the friendship between Saudi and Pakistan. There is no other close relationship as such. Saudi Arabia has always wanted an army that is recruited from non-Arab and non-Turkish background. Why? Because if Saudi takes military personnel from Arabic and Turkish backgrounds, there is an internal clerical politics that happens. It leads to ethnic controversy within its own land, and therefore it always prefers a neutral army, which is non Turkish, non Arabic. And here, Pakistani soldiers are the best resource. Last but not the least, for Pakistan, it's a win win situation. Now, Pakistan is a country whose economy is lethargic. Recently, 2 months before, Pakistan was once again given loan by the International Monetary Fund. It was bailed out at a massive price. The only thing Pakistan is busy doing is to weaponize, terrorize, and intrude. Yes, it is a terror state out and out. So, therefore, economy is in ruins. The military is still dictating, despite the prime minister and the parliament being there. In this case, a friendship with Saudi Arabia could mean cheaper access to the oil, cheaper access to the gas and energy, much better presence of trade infrastructure in the West Asia, and a key friend against India. Tomorrow, if Pakistan repeats one more terror attack on India, at least Pakistan knows Saudi will be my friend. Pakistan is happy that Indian and Saudi Arabic dynamics are disturbed now. So that's what is happening right now. Quite a messy politics in West Asia. Will it have an implication for India? Yes, it can have an implication for India. Unfortunately, yes, because today India is world's third largest oil importer. We are one of the leading importers of oil alongside US and China. Major buyer of Saudi Arabic oil is also India. So apart from the fact that today we are using most of the oil coming from Ural mountain area of Russia, because Russia is selling it at a cheap price to us because of sanctions on Russia done by EU and America. Still, India depends majorly on the West Asian oil that's coming from Saudi Arabia's crude oil. So India-Saudi relations are important for our energy security. Second, India needs constant supply of oil, because how much will we depend on Russian Ural oil? Today, once again, European Union countries are ready to impose stricter sanctions on Russia. What if these sanctions only go on increasing? It will be difficult for India. The Russia-Ukraine war is not ready to settle at all. What if tomorrow supply chains of the Ural Mountains are also disturbed? India cannot completely depend on Russia. So for the sake of diversification, yes, we need the Saudi oil. Besides, Saudi also has 2.6 to 3 million Indians who are working there. Not only in the IT, not only in the real estate, but also in the construction work, in the blue collar work. Massive labor force is employed. Foreign remittances to India come from Saudi. It is about our national income and foreign reserves. Saudi and India have a deep relationship in defense, counter-terrorism and intelligence. From 2014, we have had constant military exercises. We have had an agreement where Indian exports will now be easily sold in the Saudi Arabic markets because America's markets are closing owing to high tariff. So yes, Saudi Arabia and Gulf is an excellent market for Indian textiles, Indian gems and jewelry, leather products, footwear and clothes. Similarly, Saudi Arabia also knows that India is an equally strong nuclear power. So signing a pact with Pakistan, perhaps it could mean a balancing act by Saudi Arabia. Then the problem for India is that tomorrow, if Pakistan attacks India again, just like Pakistan keeps doing, recently it had done in Pahalgam, innocent people were massacred. Now, what will Saudi do? Will it openly support India or will it continue to support Pakistan because both of them today have signed the SMDA, Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement? Now, what will happen? Similarly, Saudi has already promised about $100 billion investment in India. Will that be derailed? What about the naval industrial cooperation that India has with Saudi? Important to expand India's footprint in the Arabian Sea because of Pakistan's Gwadar port, because of Pakistan's domination along with China. Now, even in the Arabian Sea, because of the Belt and Road Initiative, India has to also look at the Arabian Sea. Saudi friendship could really mean wonders here. So now what is going to happen? Nobody knows because yes, it's a very complicated situation. So let's see what happens in future. Now to the comments. Very good morning, Dipesh. Very good morning, Ponguru. Very good morning, Rishi. Very good morning, Baga. Good morning, dear. Absolutely, yes, order. We have found some reserves near Andaman. That's also a valid news. We will also cover that as it develops. Now, the question, look at the following statements regarding SMDA signed between Saudi and Pakistan in September 25 recently. One, the agreement was signed in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia between Saudi Crown Prince, Prince Mohammed, and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. But Pakistani's army chief Asim Munir was also present too. One of Saudi's strategic calculations behind this pact is to protect against potential nuclear power of Iran. And three, under the new pact SMDA, Pakistan has formally agreed to provide nuclear weapons to Saudi. So which of these statements are valid? Absolutely, Dipesh. Very well answered, my dear. Absolutely, Bhaga. Absolutely, my dear. Very well answered. Smartly handled question. Very good. Excellent, Ramu. Very well answered. Very valid answer. We know that the third statement cannot be valid because under the pact, Pakistan has not formally agreed to provide nuclear support to Saudi. It's just an agreement of friendship and trust between them. It is a move made by Saudi Arabia to protect its own self because Iran is a nuclear power. So, yes, the friendship could provide more protection to Saudi, but there is no formal nuclear agreement. Beautiful, Santosh. Very well answered, all my dear aspirants. Absolutely, first two are valid. A will be the right answer. Brilliant. Great performance. Excellent. Now, the second article, page number 10, that's also editorial. A climate health vision with lessons from India. Now, we are not saying, please look at the title carefully. Usually, in all the editorials, they are writing for India. India should do this, India should do that. India should learn this, India should learn that. But today, we are not saying something that India should do. We are celebrating something that India is already doing. So it's a nice article which celebrates India's achievements in the health plus climate sector. Okay, so we are saying from India. These are lessons from India. So we should learn from India. The world should learn from India. And what is the article talking about? So we all know, and you should keep remembering this very often for writing in your mains answer, that India is one country which has committed to become Viksit Bharat by 2047. India is also one country which has promised that by 2070, I will become zero carbon, no carbon country, zero carbon emission, neutral, carbon neutral. India is one country which has promised by 2030 to fulfill most of its sustainable development goals, total 17 in number, plus also to fulfill its nationally determined contributions of reducing its carbon emissions by 45% as compared to the 2015 levels as promised under the Paris Agreement of 2015. These are certain promises India has made. And yes, India is living up to these promises because today, ever since COVID pandemic came, started in 2020 as a shock to most of us and really became ugly by 2021. In India, many people died premature death. Many other people became disabled for life. Lung scarring, tissue scarring in the heart, immeasurable number of heart attacks, neuro disorders. So COVID has been a very nasty experience in general. I think you will agree there. Many of you might have seen even among your family and friends that people are complaining about unusual symptoms ever since they have contracted the COVID. Today they are fine, but still a lot of problems are still persisting. So COVID was a bad experience. But COVID also taught us one big lesson. The lesson was about zoonotic disease, if you remember. Zoonotic disease were a class of disease that can spread between animals and humans. So these organisms, bacteria, fungus, amoeba, protozoa, that cause zoonosis disease can jump and they can be contagious between different species like animals and humans both. For example, bird flu, swine flu, COVID, KFD, many other disorders like tomato flu or in Africa we had a major one, the Marburg virus. So all these are there. Yeah, the vaccine aging is happening. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful order. Vaccine aging, side effects of the vaccine. So, a lot of problems have come up. So, but that has also taught us a lesson that zoonotic is a very dangerous thing for future. In fact, I was telling you day before yesterday that the World Health Organization today is saying it is predicting that very soon a new disease called disease X might come. It's an imaginary name, a hypothetical name to a future pandemic that also will be zoonosis. Because today we are failing to understand the importance of One Health. One Health initiative is about treating animal and human health alike. There is no difference between the health of a plant, an animal, or a human. Because today organisms are jumping between the species, they are contagious. So let's take care of the health of the total ecosystem together, whether it's human, whether it's animal, or whether it's plant health. A major thing here to understand is that zoonotic diseases are also a result of climate change. During COVID pandemic, many doctors wrote reports and proved their point, saying that when global warming happens, the temperature increases. That time, the behavior and the mutation pattern of virus and bacteria and fungus also changes. They become hyperactive. Plus, more the temperature, more the climate change, the lesser the immunity of the human being. Because even inside our body, we have a universe of microbiomes, the gut bacteria. That also changes its behavior as climate changes, weather patterns change. For us, it becomes a low immunity problem. For the organisms like fungus, bacteria, virus, it becomes a situation where they become more strong, they mutate faster. So, what happens? They are becoming stronger, we are becoming weaker. No wonder we have these problems coming up. In Kerala, people are today battling with a brain eating amoeba, the PAM disease, meningoencephalitis problem. So many young people are dying because of that. Why? Climate change could be blamed. Yesterday, one report in the Hindu said because Kerala has a tropical climate, the temperatures are increasing every year because of global warming. That also increases the temperature of the water in lakes, rivers, ponds, and wells. Because of the high temperature, these water bodies become excellent place for amoebas to mutate faster. And when humans consume or use the water, it enters the brain. And then comes these dangerous disorders. If climate change is the root cause of so many problems, zoonotic, brain eating amoeba, future disease X, then why can't we have welfare policies that also tackle climate problem? And India has proven to the world that we have done it very successfully. So which schemes in India have proven the point? We will see in this article today. Now, recently, there was a conference that took place in 2025. The conference took place in a place called Belém. Belém is a place in Brazil. Please understand and remember the name. 2025 conference known as the Global Conference on Climate and Health. The Global Conference on Climate and Health. Under this conference, world leaders, doctors, and scientists came together and discussed how can health and climate change be taken together? Because both of them are related. The more the climate change, the more the pandemics. The more the pandemics, the more the climate impact. So we have to treat them together. Okay? Now, at the same time, when this problem is happening, in this conference, they created a beautiful outcome. And the outcome today is known as the BHAP. It refers to the Belém Health and Action Plan. That's the result of this 2025 conference. And when will this be launched? The Belém Health and Action Plan. This will be launched very soon in the Conference of Parties 30 Summit, the COP30, that will also take place in November 2025 in the same area, Belém in Brazil. This is very important for your exam. Why? Because topic mapping says this is GS paper 3. Human health, climate mitigation. Both topics are being covered here. So quickly create a mind map here. What has happened right now? A conference has happened known as Global Conference on Climate and Health. What was the agenda? To deal with climate and health problems together. Where did it happen? Belém, Brazil. Result? BHAP, the Belém Health Action Plan, that will be formally introduced in the COP30 summit, which will be happening in November this year. Where? Belém, Brazil again. One thing to remember, they are focusing on integrating climate change with health issues. Second, India was unfortunately absent in this conference. India could not attend this conference. But that was a major loss to India because today India represents the voice of the global south. After 2023's presidency of the G20 by India, India has become the top-notch economies of the global south. Today, if India had participated, it would have been wonderful because then India would have given an example to the world that how through welfare programs like PM Poshan, midday meal scheme, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan 2015, Manrega, PM Ujjwala Yojana, India has proven a point that yes, climate protection and human health can be integrated together under one agenda. Unfortunately, India was not there, but the world can still learn certain important lessons from India. So, what are these lessons that India can teach the world community? One lesson India can teach is how India adopted PM Poshan program. Now, PM Poshan program is earlier the midday meal scheme, where in the government schools, in the Anganwadi schools, the government sponsors and provides free meal, free one balanced meal to every child. Now, under PM Poshan, the government has today committed to create Poshan Vatikas. Have you heard of Poshan Vatikas? Vatika means garden in Hindi. So these are nutrition gardens, Poshan Vatikas. Here, the school children along with teachers will be encouraged to grow crops, including fresh fruits and vegetables in the school campus. And then the produce, the vegetable and fruits from here will be used to make fresh meal from scratch, completely in an organic manner, without the use of any pesticide, without any medicine. That's how India integrates climate protection with health protection. Similarly, under PM Poshan midday meal scheme, where 11 crore children in 11 lakh schools in India are provide free food. It is also focusing on millet consumption. Alongside nutrition garden, the encouragement is on producing food which uses millets. Okay? The tiny millets and the larger millet family. Various kind of millets will be given to children. How? Because millets promote good health. They have a low glycemic index for the body. 2, millets are climate friendly. Millets do not need too much water or any pesticide or any fertilizer. They are very sustainable in terms of climate protection. Yes, this is the second way in which we have integrated climate and health. 2, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, the government is trying to create proper sanitation for people, to create the use of toilets among people for creating open defecation free districts in India. You might have heard the word ODF plus. Kerala has achieved the distinction of having so many ODF districts. open defecation free. Everybody has an access to proper sanitation. Here also the purpose is to promote human health and climate toxicity. Because when there is open defecation, it always results in manual scavenging. And manual scavenging is a disaster to the dignity and health of individuals from the lower caste communities. It also results in them either dying or contracting diseases. Plus, open defecation also leads to climate pollution. So, today, by creating proper access to sanitation, yes, the government is creating better menstrual hygiene, better sanitation, and yes, climate protection. Let's talk about Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, where in India, every year for 100 days, rural people are provided with employment opportunities. Yes, it is a blue collar job, it is a physical job. At the same time, it also assures some daily basic salary to the poor people in villages. Yes, like millets, yes, kodo, proso, all these are millets, absolutely. 2023 was the International Year of Millets, right? Okay. So now, Manrega, when you assure 100 days of employment in 1 year to people coming from rural unemployed background, you are also promoting initiatives like soil protection, soil conservation, rainwater harvesting, taking people to clean the septic tanks that have now been under disuse for a long time, to build them back as water reservoirs, to clean the village wells, to clean the ponds. For example, planting more trees, afforestation. All these are also encouraged under Manrega. So, yes, that leads to employment generation plus climate protection. Now, let's talk about PM Ujjwala Yojana. You know what is PM Ujjwala Yojana? PM Ujjwala is about creating access among poor women and children and people towards LPG cylinders. So not only does government provide LPG cylinders for free, it also provides gas pipelines, regulators for gas usage, manual booklet, installation, everything is free. Typically given to poor households under below poverty line level. How does it help? It helps in getting women and children access to clean energy because otherwise, poor households are still depending on using kerosene, diesel stoves. They use wood and coal to cook. That creates too much air pollution. It leads to premature deaths, lung cancers, preventable diseases among children and women, especially. Indoor household pollution is what we call it. By providing clean energy, the government is promoting health of these young women and children. Apart from that, also, the government is guaranteeing climate protection because, yes, we all know by 2030, the government of India has promised to cut 45% carbon emission. And yesterday, there was a great news. I'm covering it today in my current affairs video. After about 50 years, historically, India has reduced its climate emission. India has reduced its coal emission by about 1%. That's a major achievement we have done. It was in the news yesterday. It's a breaking news for the day. We will cover it. For the first time in history, after a long, long time, after COVID pandemic, we are seeing for the first time, in fact, India has reduced its emission level. That's a great news. So that is what we want to do, okay? And PM Ujjwala helps in that. Similarly, all these programs are models for the global community to learn that sometimes you can do welfare schemes by providing people employment, LPG gas, food, and at the same time also take care of climate. So now when India can integrate health policies, clean air, safe drinking water, organic agriculture, women health, then why can't other countries also create plans where they integrate climate protocols into social welfare policies? Another lesson India has taught the world is that all these policies need to be rooted locally. For example, if you say PM Poshan, in PM Poshan, the children themselves are participating in the Poshan gardens, nutrition gardens. The teachers are participating, ASHA workers are supporting. So that means grassroots level participation is happening. Today, the article says we must also create a mandatory, a compulsory health impact assessment, HIA, for all the social welfare policies that are created in India. That will also help. if you do a mandatory health impact assessment of all the climate policies, and you do a mandatory environment impact assessment mandatory for all the health policies, then we can have an integrated model, and India can teach this lesson to the world across agriculture, across transportation, across energy, across urbanization. Yes, we have to use more support from self help groups, Asha and Anganwadi workers. We have to use the Gram Panchayats also, so that it becomes a nice grassroots level democratic movement. And yes, India is a great success story here. So that's the article for you. Now let's have a look at the question with reference to the Belém Health Action Plan of 2025 at the recently concluded Global Conference on Climate Health. The COP30, Convention of Parties 30, has been adopted to address climate and health link. Two, India has given an example from PM Poshan and Ujjwala as models of climate health co-benefits, climate health, other benefits, extra benefits at this conference. Three, the plan emphasizes embedding using health concerns in climate policies across energy, agriculture, and transport sector. Now that's an easy question. So which of these statements do you think is or are valid? I think you will find the question easy. Absolutely. Very well answered. Very prompt response, Dipesh. I would say that's a valid answer. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Because we know that the second option cannot be true. India has not participated in this conference. We know, I told you clearly that unfortunately at the Belém Conference 2025, the Global Conference on Climate and Health, India was absent there. If India was present, India could have showcased all these success stories of PM Poshan, Ujjwala Yojana, but India did not attend. What to do? So India missed that opportunity. But now maybe at the COP30 that will happen in November once again in Brazil, in Belém, maybe India can now go and showcase. So therefore, two cannot be correct. India was not present in the conference, but first and the third statements are valid. So A will be the right answer here. Well tried and really well attempted. So another article today is talking about India and Canada relationship. We all know recently India-Canada ties were in the news. Why were they in the news? Because there was a mutual conflict between India and Canada about Khalistani terror outfits. So what was the controversy all about, and why does it matter to India? For UPSC GS syllabus, yes, it becomes GS paper 2 international relations and foreign policy, India and Canada relationship, but it is also a matter of internal security for India as we are talking about Khalistani terrorism. Now, when we use the word Khalistani extremism, please understand you cannot call it a separatist movement. That is technically incorrect. It is not a separatist movement. Yes, absolutely, order. We are talking about the Nijar case. Absolutely. So it is not a separatist movement. It is, in fact, a secessionist movement. Please be very clear about these words. Separatism is when people ask for a separate state within the country. Like it has been happening since 1956 in India, the States Reorganization Act. In India, most of the states are a result of separatism. Movements for linguistic and ethnic identity, starting from Odisha, then Andhra Pradesh, resulting in the latest 2014 Telangana. That's a different thing. It is not a problem. It is not anything that is illegal. It is allowed by the constitution because India is an indestructible union of destructible states. So that is okay. When we talk about movements like Khalistani movement, Bodo land movement, Kamtapur Liberation Organization movement, that's when it becomes a secessionist movement. Secession is different from separatism. And here we are talking about secessionism. When a group of people start demanding a different country to be created out of India, that's not allowed by Indian constitution because Article 1 says India is an indestructible union. So nothing can be allowed that hampers India's sovereignty. Okay, so here that's the question. And now the article is discussing how on September 18th, that is 2 days from now, 2 days ago, in New Delhi, there was a bilateral security meeting between Canadian and Indian leadership. Now, this is a very important milestone because both the countries, India and Canada, are meeting together and discussing after a long time. For all these years, we had a bad relationship. In fact, visas were being cancelled, diplomatic offices were being shut. So, India Canada had a very bad relationship in the past. Recently, the problems became worse actually. Today, after a long time, both the countries have sat together and finally had some interesting bilateral security discussions. But for the last 2 years, there has been a complete breakdown of relationship. Why? Because Canada in 2023 started blaming India that it was Indian officers who were responsible for killing of the Khalistani separatist leader Harjit Singh Nijjar in Canada. So his death was linked to India's action. And therefore, Canada blamed India for interfering in Canadian internal politics. And that's why the relationship between the countries were bad. For 2 years, there was hardly any discussion or talk. Today, after 2 years, finally both the countries are meeting and they are having a talk about counter terrorism, better intelligence sharing with each other so that they can counter any extremism for safety of both the countries. Also, they have discussed about extradition, sending the Khalistani fugitives from India back to India from Canada. But both the countries have acted with a lot of self control because, as such, the Harjit Singh Nijjar case, that was a major controversy between the countries, has not been openly discussed right now. So, both the countries were quiet about that. So, what exactly happened? In June 2023, as we are discussing, Harjit Singh Nijjar, who was declared a terrorist in India, was killed in Canada. Therefore, Canadian government accused Indian agents for having done this secret killing operation. And it said that India is now treating Canada with ruthless interference by interfering in its internal stability. Therefore, it also said that all Indian diplomats, consulates in Canada will be removed from the country. They will be expelled. There will be no more bilateral relation between the countries, and it is a complete enmity between the two. In 2023-2024, all the trade talks were cancelled. Visa services were also being disrupted. In fact, the Indians who were living there were also scared. They were having a very uncertain future in Canada. Early 2025, there was a sudden milestone that happened which led to this positive development. The milestone happened as the new Canadian Prime Minister, Mr. Mark Carney, he was the new incumbent to the office, and he acted with a better approach towards India. So now the new Canadian Prime Minister, Mr. Mark Carney, absolutely order. He invited Prime Minister Sri Modi to the G7 summit. This invitation led to a change of hearts. This finally melted the ice between the countries a little bit. And today, after a long time, national security level talks are going on between both the countries to restore the trade, restore the defense ties, restore the visa protocols, and also to together work towards terrorism. Now, India keeps saying that Canada has the responsibility right now. It is Canada's duty to provide utmost security and utmost protection to the safety of those Indian citizens who are living in Canada, especially those citizens who are working in diplomat and consulate position. Because under a charter of the United Nations, I will talk about that charter, very important for GS paper 2 international relations, my dear. Under that charter of the UN, it is mandatory that every country who is hosting diplomats and consulate officers from another country should provide complete security and protection to these foreign consulates and diplomats. It's a compulsory thing to do. And this is known as the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, signed in 1961 and 1964. Please remember Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Under this convention, all United Nations member countries will have to provide protection and security to foreign consulates and foreign diplomats who are staying and living on their soil. Under Article 3 of the convention, diplomats are the representatives of the sending states into the receiving countries. So, therefore, their interests have to be protected. Also, The purpose of diplomacy is to promote friendship and cooperation, so no attack should be done on the representatives of foreign country. Article 22 of Vienna Convention. Diplomatic institutions like consulate offices, visa offices, dedicated embassies cannot be violated. Come what may, they cannot be attacked. Similarly, the host country has to provide protection and cannot enter inside the embassy office without taking due permission from the receiving country's representatives. There is another article, very, very important. Article 39, 30, and 31. These three of the Vienna Convention under UN say that all diplomats in a foreign country enjoy personal inviolability. They cannot be violated. They cannot be injured, attacked, or harmed. They cannot be arrested or detained at all in any situation. They have the immunity. They have utmost protection against criminal jurisdiction. Similarly, Article 9, the host country can declare. They have a right to declare a diplomat as a persona non grata. And in that case, the diplomat will leave the country, but with due respect. You cannot arrest. You cannot torture. You cannot retain. Article 41, diplomats also have the duty to respect the laws and the policies of the country in which they are living. And they should not interfere in the internal affairs of the country in which they are the guest. But Canada blamed India of violating Article 41. Then the death of Harjit Singh Nijjar was a case of violating Article 41 of the Vienna Convention of the UN, that India has killed and interfered in the internal security matters that is not allowed by Article 41. At the same time, India blamed Canada of violating Article 29, 30, and 31 of the Vienna Convention, that in this situation, because Canada is blaming us, our diplomats are not safe there. And Canada it is obliged to protect the safety of all our diplomats, even when the Khalistani people were issuing threats against them. India said under Article 29, 30, and 31 of Vienna Convention, they have to provide security to Indian diplomats, come what may. Otherwise, India is going to invoke and complain against Canada at the United Nations under Article 22 of the Vienna Convention that foreign missions were not protected. Article 29, our diplomats were also not protected. See, ultimately, the fight was very, very clear between the two countries. Some Khalistani groups in Canada are constantly demanding a separate country, a separate area for themselves from India, and hence they are indulging in anti Indian activities. For India, they are out and out terrorists. But for Canada, they are a part of diaspora who determine the politics, who determine the domestic politics from the Sikh diaspora. And they have a huge power equation in Canadian elections every time, every term election. So therefore, Canada was giving them protection. Now, the tensions in 2023 were very clear. As Harjit Singh Nijjar died, for Canada, it was a clear complaint that India has killed it simply because for India, they are terrorists. But India should not have done it, because for us, it is a matter of our diaspora. It is a matter of election. It is a matter of our internal domestic politics. India denied, but Canada kept blaming. And since then, the relations between both were very, very bad. But as you are seeing today, now there is a bilateral talk going on. So visas might be restored, trade talks might be restored. Both the countries may have smoother negotiation on anti-terror attacks also. But for your UPSC, do remember the main controversy. Remember the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations 1964. That is the cornerstone, the foundation of modern international diplomacy. Remember specially Articles 29, 30, 31, Article 22 and Article 41, the most important. Now the next article is not so big. It is once again about the complaint, international controversy, GS paper 2, international relations, current affairs of international importance. European Union has threatened imposing more stronger sanctions on Russia. But this time, India, China may also have to face some sanctions because India and China are continuing their relationship, oil and gas import from Russia. So, European Union diplomat representative Mr. Kaja Kalas has hinted that Indian and Chinese companies will also face these sanctions because they continue to have a good trade relation with Russia, despite the sanctions created by us. So, European Commission is saying 19th time we are ready to impose a sanction package on Russia. The sanctions started in 2022 as Russia-Ukraine war picked up. As a part of self-defense joint commitment of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, European Union countries along with America came to the support of Ukraine. They are openly criticizing Russia for violating Ukraine's sovereignty. Russia did not stop the war. EU and America responded by putting many sanctions on Russia. No wonder the prices of Russian oil and gas also fell down. Russian economy did get a hit. That is why Russia is pushing India to buy the Su fighter jets from Russia, because Russia wants to improve its earnings now by selling more defense equipment, more gas and oil to countries like India, China, who are rising economies, who have a good demand. Because Russia is definitely facing that loss. Today, once again, European Union has said Russia is not ready to cooperate. Ukraine war is not ending. 19th round of sanctions are coming now. And what will happen now? Russia will have a limited access to artificial intelligence chips, geospatial data. Russia will also have a complete ban. It will face a total ban on its natural gas and oil imports from January 2027. Similarly, 118 vessels, marine vessels of Russia, will also be punished. They will also be held accountable for breaking the sanctions created from EU and US. At the same time, further bans, further prohibitions have been announced on Russian iron, steel, fertilizer, nickel, and other commodities. So, major sanction on Russia, not just oil and natural gas, iron, fertilizer, steel. Key export items of Russia, all of them are now coming under this new ban. Another threat is that India and China, if they continue to import these materials, they will also face the same sanctions today or tomorrow. For India, it is a difficult situation because just 2 days before, India and European Union have signed a strategic pact under which they both are further trying to improve the free trade agreement plus much better security ties. So what should India do now? On the one hand, growing relationships, diversified markets into European Union. And today comes the complete prohibition and sanction on Russia done by EU. Russia is also facing bans from European Union across its banks and cryptocurrency platforms. Many more restrictions will also happen on energy trade with Russia. That's what American president says. And President Trump is also saying that if India and China will not stop their close relationship, their continuous trade across defense and energy with Russia, we will also impose secondary sanctions on India and China. So what choice does India have? India will have to do a major diplomatic balancing now, because if India continues to import oil and defense equipment from Russia, it may face secondary sanctions from European Union. But European Union is also our need today because 50% tariff is coming from America. So European Union is a great market for India. India cannot spoil relationship with EU. At the same time, India can't lose Russia also. So today it's a difficult situation again. European Union is saying that India will have to do some prioritization. For India, it should be the strategic priority to avoid Russia. Because if India continues to trade with Russia, it is the same thing like India is supporting the war and atrocity in Ukraine. So again, India's hands are tied and we really don't know what's the future like. So what's the question? Look at the following statements regarding European Union's 19th packet of sanctions that's coming now on Russia, of course. Yes, India is walking on a tightrope, Dipesh. Absolutely. Whether it's Iran, whether it's Saudi-Pakistan deal, today whether it is another list of sanctions on Russia. I so agree. I so agree. Statement 1 says the package of sanctions includes a proposal for a complete ban on imports of Russian natural gas by 2027 January. 2. The sanctions will also be imposed on ships from Russia, the so-called shadow fleet of Russia. They are being accused of breaking the previous sanctions. And three, the sanctions will also target foreign supplies, including entities from India and China, if they continue to trade with Russia in technologies like AI and geospatial data. So, which of these statements do you think are valid? Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well answered, Dipesh. Yes, all of these will be valid. Correct. Well answered. Now let's have a look at the last article for the day. And this is about how President Trump once again is having some mood swings about Taiwan. Taiwan and China problem is an age-old one. Taiwan experiences a massive threat from China's aggression. Absolutely, order. That's correct. India needs something else apart from this geopolitics. Too heavy dose of geopolitics. I so agree. I so agree. Nowadays, newspapers and current affairs are being dominated by IR. So I can quite imagine that next year, prelims 2027, and even the mains for that matter, can you imagine how many questions will come exclusively from IR foreign policy? So many. Even the essay topics will be about this only. So better we keep all the points in mind so that we can handle the exams, quite smartly there. And absolutely, Gopinath, that's a valid answer. Valid answer, my dear. So now President Trump was trying to support Taiwan. America has always supported Taiwan. Earlier also under Joe Biden government, Taiwan was getting a major financial and military support from America. Trump was also doing, but now President Trump is saying, I am not going to do it. So recently, yesterday, President Trump has denied approving $400 million military support to Taiwan. He says we are not giving it anymore. Why is he refusing now? Taiwan is experiencing a major threat from China. We know that. In the South China Sea, China's domination is increasing every day. US and China are already ideological enemies. After all, the whole purpose of Quad, the whole purpose of, creating forums like India's better friendship with US, India's strengthening ties with the Gulf, India's north-south transport corridor, India's investment in the Chabahar port. After all, everything is just to counterbalance China's domination. America absolutely hates China. Then what happened today? Why suddenly is President Trump saying, I am not going to give any financial support to Taiwan? Now, here also some ugly geopolitics has come. It is interesting but slightly complex. I will explain in easy words. So, President Trump and Chinese President Xi, they both are now, yesterday, they had a telephonic conversation. Okay, they had a talk on the phone. And for the first time in the last few months, both of them have had a conversation on telephone. What did they talk about? They are talking about how America could once again allow platforms like the TikTok to operate in its country. They are also discussing about the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. President Trump is convincing China that China should not support Russia in the war against Ukraine. China should not import so much oil from Russia. That's what they spoke about. Now, another thing is both of them are also planning to meet now. Yes, that's a shock. So President Trump and China's leader Xi are planning to meet now. They are planning to meet at the APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in October. That's going to happen in South Korea. Very interesting development. Very interesting. CS paper 2, IR foreign policy. President Trump is also going to visit China next year in 2026, and the Chinese leader will also go to America after that. So what is going on really? Are they enemies or friends? President Donald Trump, because he is having now a telephonic conversation with Chinese leader, because he's planning to go to the APEC summit and meet him, because he will also visit China in 2026, because he's convincing China against supporting Russia, is now ready to compromise on Taiwan. Taiwan is one country which America has supported throughout history against China. Today, because America is having a better conversation with China and they are going to meet now, the leadership at both levels, suddenly America has declined to say yes to the 400 million loan, military aid to Taiwan, because it is busy talking to China about trade and the APEC summit. Is this not a huge change of heart for America, who has always supported Taiwan throughout? For Taiwan, America is the largest military supplier. In the past, also, under President Joe Biden, about 2 billion military aid package was sent to Taiwan. It was approved. Today, President Trump is not agreeing. People are saying, sources are saying, because Taiwan is saying, send the material, after that I will do the payment. But President Trump believes that pay first and then get the help. In Ukraine also, he had shown the same temperament, that I will give you, but you have to first give me some installment of the payment. So is it an economic insecurity that Taiwan will not pay back? Is it that? Or is it because of the glowing relationship with China that suddenly he is having this change of heart? This will have a definite impact on Taiwan, because Taiwan is facing constant threat from China. America's military support is the only lifeline for Taiwan right now. Today, if US is going to deny this help, it could mean that in order to have a better friendship with China, is US compromising and sacrificing Taiwan? For a better economic diplomacy with China, trade, anti-Russia, security, will it sacrifice Taiwan completely? Second, will it not impact the security situation in East Asia, where China is every day like a hungry lion, expanding in the South China, West Pacific, and Indian Ocean? Already, India is doing its best through Sagarmala, through Strait of Malacca, through Chabahar Port, in trying to combat China's monopoly. Already, countries like Quad, in which America is also a member, Japan, South Korea, Australia, all are working towards countering China's domination. So, what does it even mean? If America and China will become close, what will the other people do suddenly? Will this not give a better free access to China to create more domination of all these seas? When China sees that America has stopped supporting Taiwan. And now, the last issue for the day. This is completely a domestic Indian issue, a slight change from international geopolitics. This is GS Paper 2, Polity and Governance. Recently, a controversy happened in Karnataka as the Dasera festival was being, prepared for celebrating in Mysuru. During the festival, the famous Booker Prize winner, Mr. Bhanu Mustaq, was invited to inaugurate the function. So this led to a petition created by an individual complaining that why for a Hindu festival, a Hindu religious festival, why was a well-known person invited despite the fact that he was a non-Hindu? So why was he invited to inaugurate a Hindu religious festival at the Chamundeshwari temple on September 2022? So why was he invited? The petition was done by Mr. H.S. Gaurav. But despite the claim of the petitioner that the puja is a Hindu religious act, and Article 25 of the Indian Constitution, PPP, gives every community the right to profess, practice, and propagate its religion. So why should we invite a non-Hindu to perform puja inauguration? But the Supreme Court has said it is not about religion, it is not about Article 25 at all. It is about going back to the spirit of the preamble. 42nd Amendment Act 1976 made India a sovereign, socialist, secular democratic republic. So India is secular. And in India, secularism means that the state or the government is neutral to all the religions. And the individual, the Booker Prize winner, was not invited to perform a religious task. He was only invited to inaugurate. And inaugurate is not a religious thing. It is a secular activity. So under Indian secularism, where we believe in equality and fraternity, where we believe the fact that the government will not support or promote any one religion, let's understand that ribbon cutting and inauguration were secular activities. They were done before the puja started. So therefore, we cannot say that it is a battle between inviting a non-Hindu to a Hindu religion function. Similarly, the Supreme Court also said that let's just try to understand that ceremonies and celebrations can also be secular. Why? Religious proceedings are to do with religion, but celebrations, inaugurations, and festivals can also have a quite secular outlook. So that's okay. It has nothing to do with Article 25, therefore. And Preamble, after all, talks about secularism. That's the core value guiding India's equalities. That's the debate all about. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for that input. Okay, order. That's a wonderful observation. Now, the last question for the day. Consider the following statements regarding the Supreme Court's observation in Mysuru Dasera inauguration 25. 1. The court emphasized that secularism, liberty of thought, equality, and fraternity are given in the preamble of Indian Constitution. 2. The Supreme Court also held that inviting a Muslim dignitary to perform the puja before the deity has violated Article 25 of the Constitution, the PPP. 3. The court distinguished between secular ceremonial activities like ribbon cutting and inauguration on the one hand and religious rituals like puja on the other. So, which of these do you think is or are valid? You can post your answer. If you have anything to discuss, any interesting, exciting idea related to the exam, UPSC preparation, if you want me to discuss a particular issue with you, which you want to know about, please let me know. Absolutely, Dipesh, that's the valid answer. Really well done. Excellent, brilliant, absolutely. Okay, and now if you're enjoying all these courses, if you are enjoying these initiatives, then kindly do remember that tomorrow our mission success sale is ending. Tomorrow is 20th September. Today it is ending. Today is 20th September. So if you are really targeting the UPSC 2026, you should boost your preparation by taking advantage of a sale that's coming at a very discounted price, by the way. And if you buy the GS Foundation course, you will get massive discount on the optionals also in Hindi, in English, and in English. Okay. Apart from that, there are many courses like Gold, Platinum, Diamond, to pick up from. So you can just fill out the form in the description box of the video. We can reach out to you, have a discussion with our representatives, and then enroll for the sale course that you think is really going to help you for this preparation. Thank you so much for your time, energy, lovely discussion, and enthusiastic response. Okay, I'll see you on Monday now with another session of The Hindu. As I said, if there's anything you want to share with me, please feel free to do that. Absolutely valid answer, Gopinath. Thank you. Thank you so much once again. And I'll see you back on Monday.